Welcome back, my fellow Chibits. Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly manga chapter review of Tokyo Ghoul Re, chapter 93. Now, many of you requested me to do a live reaction to this, chapter, but I decided against it because I wanted to do a review because of one certain critical point of this chapter, the scorpion butterfly. Now, I already kind of briefly mentioned what it means on Twitter, but I want to kind of dive into it more, my interpretation of what it means. But there's a lot of things or details of this chapter I wanted to talk about, and, not just do a live reaction. I mean, I recorded a live reaction, but I wasn't a big fan of it, so I'm just, deleted it and all that. I'm just going to be doing, a review for this chapter. So, the chapter title is called F's Lie. Now, personally, I'm just going to say I don't know what that means. Now, some of you smarter Chibits out there in the Chibi community, if you know, please let me know in the comments below what you think F's Lie means. But there's other things I want to dive into, and just a lot of critical moments I just want to discuss and stuff, especially when it comes to certain characters popping up, like the squad is here. But boy, that squad! Like, dude! My boy! Harmony Amore! Yo, my boy Shu, Tsukiyama Shu is back. And then we have Nishiki is back as well. So, I mean, there's just some really good characters in this fucking chapter that are back. But then on top of that, Naki, oh my god, Naki is... there is just some good moments in this chapter I just need to discuss. So, the chapter starts off and reveals who the person was, the shadowy figure. Now, we guessed a lot of people, and I mean, there was a potential possibility this could be the person, but to be honest, I didn't mention it last week. I'll be honest, I didn't mention it, but I honestly thought it was someone else. But to think it was Ui, of all people that appeared, quite excited, because I mean, this man, he's been built up for a while to have something crazy under his belt, especially when it comes to his Quinque. I mean, we do know that his Quinque is quite powerful, and I want to see it in action because, I mean, it's been built up. We've seen it with his, briefcase and all that. It's been built up. So finally getting to see, his Quinque, we get to see kind of a glimpse of it. We get to see him finally using it. I can't wait to see how powerful it is and what type of abilities it has and stuff like that in the future of this fight. But besides that, however, majority of this chapter, I guess you could say, is set up and a lot of fan service for the fans. I mean, it really is. I mean, you have Ui popping up with his, reveal of his Quinque. We get to see his Quinque with the spear type shape. We get to see where Misa, she's trying to do her final stand. A part of Three Blades, she's trying to stand up, and even though she knows she's gonna die, this is her final stand, as she says, and she will hold her head high. And then as that happens, soon as she's about to fight and die by the side of Naki, you have to where Naki pushes her to the side. And this is... okay. Naki, as I've said in the past, this boy, he's almost borderline brain dead, okay? But this man, in nature, he has such a good, warm heart. He's a great guy. He's someone that truly is a wonderful person. He is. And I love Naki as a character just for that. How compassionate and kind he is, how much he cares about his friends and his loved ones. He truly loves all of them. Even though he's kind of twisted in a way, and I mean, he's not on the proper side of things, but what character in Tokyo Ghoul really is on the proper side? A lot of characters, even Kaneki himself, have done a lot of bad shit to achieve to where they're at to get on a better and brighter future. So, Naki overall, man, I'm just glad to see this man alive, getting up, even though he is weak and he has a hole in his, chest and his back and all that, he gets up to protect his friend, Misa. Now, as I said, we do know that there's some romance building up between Misa and Naki. I've talked about this many, 10 to 15 or so chapters ago. It was a long while back, but I've talked about how there's a relationship building up between these two characters, and to see this once again, how Naki just jumps in front of Misa, pushes her to the side, yo, Naki, that's what I like to see. I mean, come on, if she didn't already care about him already, she definitely is going to care about him now if they both survive this fight. I mean, let's just look at this, okay? Let me go play by play of this, okay? As we know, in the last chapter, you have it to where she wakes up and she was unconscious, she was really hurt, and then you see it to where there's a bunch of CCG agents just on the ground, bodied by Naki. Naki literally beat the shit out of all these guys by himself, And then he passes out right next to her, protecting her. And then, after all that is said and done, she gets up realizing that he literally pretty much died for her. And she's getting up to fight now, do something that actually repays the debt. She's wanting to lay down her life. And all of a sudden, Sushi's about to get hit. Naki comes in, pushes her to the side. He's like, I will fight. No, you're not. Stay back, or you can fight alongside me, but I will take the blows and all that. I don't want you getting hurt. Naki, my boy, I'll tell you right now, you just made Misa. She's gonna be all over you. She's gonna be all over you. She is definitely going to be all over Naki after this. I see it. She's gonna have some form of romance building up. I mean, Tokyo Ghoul isn't a romantic series, obviously, but I mean, there's just, you could see that that's probably gonna happen after what Naki just did. Just, good man Naki, saving Misa. She's an interesting character. I mean, we found out more about her heritage and stuff, so I want to know more about her, like more about her history and stuff besides what we already know. So I'd like to see, you know, her in future battles and be a very critical and important character in the future of Tokyo Ghoul Re, and maybe even a part 3 when it eventually does come out. So I'm glad to see she's alive, and I'm glad to see Naki alive. Hopefully they both can make it out of this battle completely fine. Okay, so let's talk about the situation here. So Naki, as we know, he's critically wounded. He's hurt. I mean, this man's already fought a lot of CCG agents and put them down. This man has been injured. He's really hurt. Misa, as we know, can't really defend against, you know, stronger Quinke and stuff for long. So, I mean, overall, you have it to where Naki, he's having to kind of be the shield. He's being the tank for Misa right now. But how long can the tank hold up when he's already injured at this point? Now, as we do know, at the end of the chapter, there is some reinforcements that pop up, which I'll get into in a moment. But at this time, though, Naki is probably reaching his limit, and he might even pass out very soon if things go south. If more CCG agents pop up, things can get rather dire quickly. So there is a possibility Naki could die over, pass out, or whatever before the fight is said and done. That is a potential possibility. Now, we do know Ui, he's not someone that is relatively a pushover. I mean, as we know, he's a strong CCG agent. He's not someone you really should underestimate. And, I mean, he has a lot of potential to be someone very strong and has some really good achievements in fights and probably put down some stronger ghouls. So, I mean, there's just no way we should underestimate Ui in this fight and just think Naki and Misa are going to win this. We shouldn't assume that right off the bat. We also do know his Quinke has been built up for a while, so to see it in action finally is probably going to have something crazy about it in, you know, upcoming chapters. Now, on the Ghoul side, there is reinforcements. Quite a bit of reinforcements, to be exact. You have it to where some of the white coats, or the white suits, they pop up, and they're there to help out Naki. All the pretty much leaders of the white suits pop up. And one of the funniest things about this, okay? After Naki does such a heroic moment to save Misa, he says, huh? I was just taking a brook. Naki is such a good character. I mean, even though he doesn't know what to say sometimes, he's such a wonderful character. Like, the way Ishida does it with his character, I don't know how he does it. He makes a grim situation that is dark into a comedic moment, especially with that, like, huh, I was just taking a brook. That's too good. And then you have to one of his bros, he's like, bro, it's not brook, it's break. It's just so good, because people are always trying to correct this man or whatever, and then just to see how he was like, I was just taking a broke, that, I don't know how to say about that. I mean, this man is just a manly figure at this moment. He stands in front, and Misa trying to tank the blows and protect her, but then he just ruins it all with his dialogue. I was just taking a brook. Just, yeah, GG. So, getting off of that, though, Naki as a character, once again, just showcasing why he's one of my top 10 favorite characters of Tokyo Ghoul, just because of this man doing what he did in this chapter. So all the white suits are popping up, and they're pretty much the reinforcements to Misa and Naki's group, and so Ui's kind of having a bad situation here. He doesn't have a lot of people really helping him out, besides a few. And then all of a sudden, to initiate the battle, Naki snaps his fingers, like he cracks his fingers. Yeah! That's so badass, because you know when a character in Tokyo Ghoul, when they pop and crack their knuckles, you know shit's about to go down. I mean, we see it from Kaneki, we see it from Naki, we've seen it from Jason. When you see shit like this, you know some dark and evil shit's about to happen, or some very badass shit is about to happen with these characters. And with him snapping his finger, he's in serious mode. He's like, I'm about to wreck someone. I'm about to rip this man's head off. I don't give a shit. Naki's going all in. And I love his line here. If I'm gonna die, it'll be in a way that I can brag about to Big Bro on the other side. Snaps finger, like he just cracks him. Oh, epic line, epic line. This man messes up all sorts of different lines, like, you know, I was just taking your book, but he manages to say this properly. If I'm going to die, it'll be in a way that I can brag about to Big Bro on the other side. Yo, Naki. Good man, good man, good man. Okay, so getting off of that page, we go over to Kuro. So Kuro, as we know, she's in a very bad spot. You have it to where a bunch of QS or new QS that Dr. Kano has made is coming after her, trying to kill her. It's just looking really bad because, I mean, regardless of how strong you are, if there's a lot of ghouls coming at you, they're eventually going to overwhelm you. So right now, it's not looking too good for Kuro. And amongst this entire fight, you see it to where there's this first panel of the fight where they're all naked and trying to reach for it. And it's such a dark and grotesque panel. I don't know if Ishida was implying something like this. I know many might get kicks and laughs saying it's like an orgy or something, but the way I look at this panel, okay? The way I interpret this panel with Kuro is like above everybody and they're all like just reaching up with their hands. It reminds me of some pictures I've seen depicting hell. Now, Ishida loves using symbolism and all that type of stuff in it, in hidden meaning. It looks like what you would see in a portrait of hell, where there's people in hell reaching their hands up and trying to pull someone down into hell because they are like in a better spot than them. They're just trying to yank her down into the fire, into the flames. And that's kind of what it looks like. It's like these people are in misery, they're in hell, and they're just trying to pull her down amongst them for she can become one of them. And that's exactly what it looks like to me. Now, I don't think Ishida probably meant that type of meaning. I don't know if he wanted me to interpret that way, but that's just what the panel gives me when I look at it. It looks like something like that. I mean, you have the dark background, the way it looks and all that. You see Kuro, she's just trying to stay away from them, trying to jump up, and then they're reaching, raising their hands, just trying to drag her down. And we do know Ishida loves using biblical symbolism. He's used it. You know, Adam and Eve, the apple, the serpent, and all that. He's used biblical symbolism. I'm not saying it was, you know, the first time either. He's used it in the past. So this possibly being biblical symbolism, or maybe I'm looking too deep into it, it's a possibility. It's a very cool panel, and I do like the artistic design that Ishida did with this panel. I'm a big fan of it, and that's how I interpret it overall. It just looks like something like out of hell. Someone's trying to drag Kuro amongst them. So things are looking dire for her, and she manages to slice off their arms and kind of raise herself up, which once again, it reminds me of something once again of like, you know, a portrait of heaven and hell or something. You're trying to go to earth. You see it to where on the bottom it's like all dark and all that. You see these people raising up trying to reach for her, and as she cuts them in half and all, it cuts her arms off, she's just going straight up, and you see like a bright light above her as she's trying to raise herself up. That's kind of what it looks like to me. I don't know. Like I said, I'm probably looking too deep into that. It looks like that. It's just not the first time she has ever done biblical symbolism. Anyways, let me just drop that for now. She gets up, she manages to dodge them. It's like, so many. At this rate, I'm going to run out of energy before I can kill all of them. So she's reaching her limit. If this continues on, she literally is going to die. It is not good for her right now. Dr. Kano's experiments with his QS squad is going to win. So, Kuro gets her neck literally grabbed. Like, she gets grabbed, and this seems like it is completely the end. And the person says, no hard feelings, we didn't really have a choice in the matter. And then all of a sudden her neck gets snapped. Now this looks like she's dead. I mean, if it would have been like a ghoul or like a human being or something, most likely she would have died. But thanks to her regenerative abilities and all that, she was able to kind of come back and be completely fine. And she manages to get to the roof and stay there. Now, even though she is alive at this time, it's still not changed the situation. Even if she got to higher ground, she still is fighting a bunch of these people that are outnumbering her, and eventually will tire down her stamina to where she can't fight. And amongst this fight, though, she wants to say one thing to Dr. Kano, which kind of reveals a little bit more motives to his character. Now, this is the first time in Tokyo Ghoul where we get to kind of find out more about how Dr. Kano operates. Now, we know he's a scientist, he's someone that experiments on people, as I've talked about already in recent chapters. He's someone that you couldn't necessarily say is evil and good. He's someone that's like a middle line. He's neutral, he's morally gray. He's someone that is, you know, that is on both sides. He does a lot of evil and corrupt shit, but he has probably good intentions. But even though he has these good intentions, he does evil things to get to those good intentions. So Kuro says, I know what you really are. And Dr. Kano is like, oh? I don't believe I myself know. What, pray tell me, am I? So he's asking, like, what do you think I am, Kuro? So Kuro goes in revealing the backstory of how Kuro and Shiro managed to meet Dr. Kano for the first time. And we get a much needed backstory on this character. It kind of opens up our eyes, but also raises many more questions. And probably potential reveals for the future. So I want to kind of read the panels. My mother and father were both eliminated by the CCG. Yes. Liar. Why would the CCG? Now, as we know, CCG seem like the good guys. They always seem to appear to be the good guys, but thanks to us knowing both sides of the world, we know how the Ghoul's world is, we know how the human world is, we know how V is, we know that CCG isn't necessarily good guys anymore. So just telling us to trust you out of the blue is crazy. So, like, why should we trust you, Dr. Kano? Like, why? I mean, you're just saying this. I mean, why would the CCG lie to us? It's like, yes, I am aware. Allow me to prove the validity of my claims with something far more convincing than mere words. Far more convincing than mere words? Yes. Something that lies underground beneath the house you two grew up. Now, we've already seen this house in the past. We know about the lab and all that underneath Shiro and Kuro's house, Dr. Kano's laboratory, where he was just making a bunch of ghoul experiments and stuff, and he's experimenting and all that, and eventually he managed to escape. Rize was taken from there. We all remember that. That happened in Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul. So we kind of understand the location where this is at. So he's bringing it up the location. He's like, do you know about the underground? And after they see the laboratory, they're like, what is this? An experimental facility for testing the ghoulification operation. Ghoulification operation? Your father was a collaborator in that research. Using your grandfather's assets as capital, the Sphinx Corporation amassed great wealth through foreign trade. At least that was the story the outside world was told. So it was a cover-up, a lie. In truth, your father had failed in his business ventures and had bled the family coffers dry, so he is pretty much on the verge of bankrupt. He had no money, and he was going to lose everything. Everything was going to be lost, and they were going to be kicked on the street. What he had amassed was not great wealth, but great debt. The upper management of the CCG, for instance V and Washu clan, eventually heard of your father's plight. In exchange for assumption of the Yasuhisa family debt, they negotiated the use of your family's mansion. With its strong, robust foundations as a front for the underground experimental facility, Nano Yasuhisa was elbows deep in the CCG's dark dealings. For instance, he was elbows deep in V's organization. For instance, how V operates, how Washus operate. He knew the truth about the world in the birdcage. He apparently became unable to deal with the utter inhumanity of the research. For instance, all the evils that were taking place there, of how the world has been lied to, the birdcage, to experimenting on humans and ghouls alike. He found out about the truth of the world, and he just couldn't deal with it any longer. His consciousness would not allow him to lead this life anymore. He attempted to leak this information to the outside world. Now, as we know, when it comes to any big organization, if you try to leak information on them, they tend to try to snuff you out, completely end your existence. And that's kind of what V and Washus did, how they reacted. As we know, they're an organization that tends to control the media, control everything, and so they are kind of like the Illuminati of the verse, and if you're trying to leak any information, they're going to put it into you. And that's what resulted in the tragedy of Kuro and Shiro's parents and their life entirely, was thanks to what the father was doing. And that is when tragedy struck. How do you know all this? Because I, too, was a collaborator in the research going on here. So, Dr. Kano reveals that he, too, was a part of this place. He was sent here to this place to do research about ghoulification process and all that, when the father was also here as well. The CCG is evil. They will never be forgiven. So, Dr. Kano's hinting that he hates CCG. Like, he straight up hates CCG, and he says they are evil, they can never be forgiven. And I feel like this dives into the darker hatred locked inside Dr. Kano that probably drives him. I don't think Dr. Kano is all that he appears. I mean, as I've said, he's morally gray, but I feel like there's something else along the lines that he's trying to accomplish. I don't think it's just him trying to find research and trying to, you know, experiment and find a way to make ghouls. I feel like he's trying to do something else entirely, and for him to say CCG is evil and they can never be forgiven, it hints at a much darker hatred that he probably has for them, probably something that maybe CCG and Washu and V did to him in the past, and he can never forgive. Maybe one of the people that he had to experiment on when he was down there might have been a family member or something, or someone he knew, and he had to do something to him that resulted in pure evil, and that's probably why he might hate them. I mean, there might be something darker to Dr. Kano's past that we're completely unaware of, and stuff he might have had to do that changed his entire outlook and why he's willing to go so far to be evil and good to accomplish his goals. Maybe. Now, going further in, he's like, and then you have to where Kuro and Shiro ask, like, what can we do about all this? We must complete the ghoulification research. You two can wipe clean the disgrace that has besmirched your late parents' names. For instance, saying that all the dirty things that your parents have done, you two can both clear what has happened to them. With me using your body and experimenting on you and allowing me to complete the ghoulification process, it allows me to achieve destroying CCG and get revenge for you all. So he's not necessarily saying you all will accomplish that dream. You guys are just a stepping stone for I can achieve that dream to also complete the ghoulification process for I can get vengeance. So I feel like there's something else driving here. I think Dr. Kano, he's doing something, he's going so far, and especially with the way his eyes get the focus and how he's sweating and all that, it seems like he has something going on in his mind, like he's really thinking hard about what he needs to do, something he needs to accomplish, and he's willing to be called a mad scientist, he's willing to be an evil son of a bitch, anyone wants to call him, he doesn't care, he is doing anything he can do to accomplish his goal. And after that is all said and done, we go into another flashback. We see it to where, after the ghoulification process, and they finally got their Kagane and stuff, they go into this little room, and you see a bunch of bugs. You see bugs in frames and stuff. You see butterflies, you see beetles, and you see all sorts of things. You even see, like, a dead skeleton or something. I don't know if that's, like, a dog or whatever, but you see a dead skeleton on the bottom of the panel. And eventually, the picture focuses on a butterfly with a scorpion body. Now, when I first saw this, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Because I have never heard of a scorpion butterfly. Like, I didn't even think something like that existed. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of creepy and bizarre things out there in the world. So I was like, you know, who the fuck knows? Maybe there is something like a scorpion butterfly. So as always, I decided to take to, you know, Google, and I'm like, okay, scorpion butterfly. I'm like, what can I find? You know what? I'll type it right now and tell you what I'll pop up. Scorpion butterfly. Okay. So scorpion butterfly, the first thing that pops up, you have like the butterfly and the scorpion, and this is something I found first. I clicked on it first, I'm like, okay, so what is this? It's like talking about like a poem, like a sad, tragic romance story between a butterfly and a scorpion, and how a scorpion's best friend, he had to kill his best friend, the spider, to actually be with the butterfly. But then the butterfly was killed with the scorpion because he embraced the butterfly and killed the scorpion with him, and he died there too. So it's like a tragic romance story between scorpion and butterfly. For instance, the scorpion loved the butterfly, the spider needed a sacrifice. For instance, the first person to get in the web of the spider would be the person that was sacrificed and killed, and the butterfly was the one that landed up in the web, and so the scorpion knew that the butterfly was going to die, but he didn't want the butterfly to die, because that was his true love. So he killed his best friend, the spider, got onto the web, and he knew he was destined to die anyways, because scorpions are destined to die, so he laid down his life, but he embraced the butterfly, and killed the butterfly in his loving embrace, but then he died too. It's a tragic romance story about a butterfly and a scorpion. That's one thing I found. But then, after all that, it led me to something else. It led me to a person. And this person is called Whistler. James Whistler. Now, I'm going to have the link in the description for you. I already posted on Twitter, but I want to have the link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. I'm not going to read everything here. I actually already read majority of this entire wiki page. I already did, just to get some good information. And there was a lot of fascinating stuff I found out about this person I didn't even know. So leave it to Ashita Sensei to get me to learn about history and stuff and different characters or people in real life. Leave it to Ashita Sensei to teach us something all the time when he writes his series. And overall, what led me to this person was his iconic signature. He had a signature that was a scorpion butterfly. And this was the most fascinating part about this person. So, every time he would sign art, or send a letter or whatever, he would put a scorpion butterfly. Exactly how it looks in Ashita's panel. Now, it's a little bit different, obviously, two different artists, and over time, you know, art's improved, you know, Ashita is able to do a lot more stuff with art, but his quick signature was a scorpion butterfly, and here's what it states about the signature that James Whistler used. Whistler's famous butterfly signature first developed in the 1860s out of his interest in Asian art. He studied the potter's marks on the china he had begun to collect and decided to design a monogram of his initials. Over time, this evolved into the shape of an abstract butterfly. By around 1880, he added a stinger, the scorpion tail, to the butterfly image to create a mark representing both his gentle and sensitive nature and then his festy spirit. He took great care in the appropriate placement of the image on both his paintings and his custom-made frames. His focus on the importance of balance and harmony extended beyond the frame to the placement of his paintings to their setting, and further to the design of the entire architecture element, as in the Peacock Room. So pretty much, he always used his butterfly signature as a symbolic meaning. It showed his gentle, soft side, and also showed his festier, darker side. It was both sides. The butterfly, as we know, when you think of a butterfly, is very beautiful, very calm, very natural, something that is gentle and loving. When you think of a scorpion, you think of something dark, festy, something that will harm you, something that will get you sick. That's kind of what a scorpion, or what many people interpret a scorpion to be. And so you put both of these two together, you get a scorpion butterfly, which showcases both sides of humanity, dark and light. Humanity is not good and evil. They are both. They are both in one, and I feel like that's kind of what the signature was trying to represent, but also what type of person he was. Now, diving even deeper into this person, James Whistler, he was a person that was constantly trying to reinvent himself. Like he tried to reinvent his signature over time, he was constantly reinventing the way he paints. He does art and all sorts of things throughout his entire life, and that kind of reminds me of how certain characters in Tokyo Ghoul are. Kaneki Kin. He's a character that constantly has gone through trying to reinvent his own personality multiple times throughout the journey of the series to become a better person. And that's kind of what James Whistler wanted to do. He reinvented himself. That's how I interpret his person. He wanted to reinvent himself. He changed himself for the better before he become a different person entirely throughout his entire life. And that's what Kaneki's doing. But it's not just Kaneki. There's other characters that have constantly tried to reinvent themselves or tried to change themselves over time throughout the journey of Tokyo Ghoul. And so I feel like the best accurate meaning that I think Ishida was trying to interpret the butterfly signature for was, one, was that he was saying that the butterfly signature represents James Whistler as a person that was constantly, changing himself, reinventing himself. As we know, Tokyo Ghoul is a series that always tries to reinvent itself. It's like Kaneki reinventing his personality, his character all the time. It's like other characters throughout the journey of Tokyo Ghoul constantly reinventing themselves from the beginning to the journey that we are now at in Tokyo Ghoul Part 2, Tokyo Ghoul Re. So I feel like one of the biggest things about this, and what Ishida was trying to imply with the scorpion butterfly and its meaning, was, for one, the scorpion butterfly means that good and evil. For instance, humanity as a whole, of how they're not actually good and evil, they're both, and which represents Dr. Kano. He is someone that is good and evil. He's neutral. He's someone that is both, and many people can interpret him in different ways. He's not one, he is both. And also, it's also another sign to showcasing that, once again, Tokyo Ghoul is a series that is always changing. Ishida has improved amongst his journey. Since Part 1, Tokyo Ghoul Chapter 1, he has changed so much. Not just his art and panels, but the way he writes his characters, the way he has these certain characters interact with each other. He has changed for the better, and that once again symbolizes the scorpion butterfly in James Whistler. Ishida, I feel like, was giving a nod to this man, giving a nod to a man that probably Ishida respects, maybe as an artist, someone that had some really good skills with some great paintings, but also someone that had a very iconic and signature that was something that he really liked and was impressed by. So I feel like at the end of the day, that's what Ishida meant. He was just very happy with the way this man was in his life and how he was as an artist, and also how his signature was, how much meaning it has behind it. So, leaving it there, I'm very sorry, I got a little bit too far into this. I'm very, very, very sorry. I know many of you probably are still not watching this video at this time. Oh my. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, my fellow Chibits. I just get so into Tokyo Ghoul that I kind of lose track of time. But, yeah, I'll leave it to Ishida to, give me a history lesson, make me learn something while I read a manga series. There's not many mangaka that can make me do that. So, well done, Ishida, for making me learn about James Whistler, his art techniques, about his signature, the scorpion butterfly, just all of that. Well done, Ishida. Well done. I'll have the link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself, if you want to see all these different, things about this person. I'll have it in the description. But, once again, I'm very sorry. I know many of you are probably not even still watching this video at this point, just because of how long it is, and many of you might not like this little history lesson I just gave, so forgive me. Forgive me quite a bit for that. Forgive me so much. Anyways, let's carry on with the chapter. So we go back over into the study and all that, and Dr. Kano's talking, and he's like, okay. He's like, I made that scorpion butterfly. Well, it's only just a specimen. But, you said you were able to release your Kagane. Congratulations. I would love to see it. Show me. And so, eventually we go back in, to the present time, and it's where, I know what you really are. You don't care about justice or anything of the sort. You're just a crazy, mad scientist. Now, I guess that's an accurate interpretation that, Kuro is trying to say to Dr. Kano, because as I've said, the scorpion butterfly represents good and evil. But I feel like there's more to it than that. Instead of Dr. Kano just being a mad scientist, I feel like there's more reasons to why he's trying to do this. As I've already hinted at, I feel like there's something else driving him behind the scenes besides just this alone. And eventually, once that is done, Dr. Kano closes his eyes and he starts laughing, like a genuine laugh. And he's like, and here I was worried about what you might say. So that is a very weird dialogue bubble. It can be interpreted in many different ways. So after Kuro says you're a mad scientist, he literally laughs, like a genuine laugh. And he's like, oh, I was worried about what you might say. Why was he worried? Why would Dr. Kano be worried? Was he hinting that maybe she was going to say he was a ghoul? Was, you know, she trying to say that maybe he might be a half-human? I mean, maybe half ghoul? I mean, what is she trying to, or what was he trying to hint at, or what was he worried that she would say? Maybe he thought that she knew the truth about his past, maybe why he does what he does, maybe that's what he thinks. So, who knows? Maybe, but I mean, overall, that line right there, I felt it was very ambiguous, and Ishida left that open for interpretation, for we really don't know what type of person or what drives Dr. Kano, besides him apparently being a mad scientist. Now, Nishiki comes up and snatches Dr. Kano. Now, if I had to assume anything what this means and why Nishiki is there in the first place, it's probably because he's grabbing Dr. Kano to get out of the island, Rue Island, and save him, because the ghoulification, you know, operation stuff still need to be worked on. It still needs more research, and so the reason why Nishiki is there is to get Dr. Kano, save him before he gets killed off by CCG, V, Washus, and stuff like that. And so I feel like Nishiki, he might be working for Kaneki or someone else, probably, but he's definitely there probably to save Dr. Kano and get him out of there, which once again would kind of be like a repeat of what happened in Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul, with how Dr. Kano got saved as well, how he just walked off and left the laboratory. That's kind of how this looks right now. He's getting saved, and he's just walking out and leaving, and Nishiki's going to be saving him too. So there might be a fight between Nishiki and Kuro, who knows, or maybe Nishiki might try to kill the man. I have no idea. One of the two could possibly happen, but this is definitely kind of a similar repeat to what happened in Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul. So now that Nishiki's there, fucking good, man. I'm glad to see Nishiki here. I'm very, very happy. It's been a while since he had a very good core central part in the story. To see him here, just, I can't wait to see what he's going to do. I cannot wait to see how awesome this man is. Oh, okay, so getting off that page. Next, when we move over back into what's going on with Naki, Misa, and also what's going on with the white suits and all that, we get to see what's going on with them. We do know that, you know, Ui's in a bad spot. He's surrounded, but to make matters even worse, Tsukiyama Shu pops up. Now, to be honest, I don't give a shit how bad CCG is looking right now. My boy Tsukiyama is there, my boy Harmony! My boy is here! My boy is here! My boy! One of my favorite characters! Oh, Tsukiyama Shu. Oh, he's here. He's here. He's here. He's not dying and decaying. He's not in a wheelchair. This man is back. He's back to full health. He's saying his famous lines. It makes me so happy. It makes me so happy just to see this man back. He doesn't look sickly anymore. He looks like a fucking boss. My boy Shu. Yes. 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 I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Anyways, enough fangasming. Shu being here just changes the tides entirely, because he's here. And since Nishiki's here, he's here. We do know that time is kind of distorted between the two places. For instance, when it comes to the prison and here, there is a possibility maybe other characters that might already still be in the prison could be here too. And I mean, look at this right now, okay? Does this mean that maybe Shu and them are there on the orders of Kaneki, since he is the One-Eyed King? Maybe they're there to, you know, save certain people, turn the tides of the battle? Who knows? But they're there right now, and they're intervening. Shu is there, and he's joining up with Naki. Of all people, Shu is joining up with Naki. We remember their little dispute, their fight and all that they had in Part 1 Tokyo Ghoul. Shu and Naki fought, dude. They were beating the shit out of each other. And now they're going to be working together. Two great characters working together. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes. Now, when it comes to the two figures behind Shu, personally, I have no idea who that could possibly be. Maybe Rize? Maybe? I mean, maybe Rize? That's a possibility. If I had to say why they're there in the first place, Like, what is their goal entirely, besides saving, like, Dr. Kano and stuff? If I had to assume, they might be there to save Yoshimura. I feel like that's what they're trying to do, or at the very least get his body or something. I feel like that may be the goal of what they're here for, trying to get Yoshimura, save him, since, you know, he does have a connection to all of them. That might be their goal, too, so trying to save Yoshimura from Dr. Kano's lab. Who the hell knows? But those two people behind him, I'm willing to bet you it's probably Rize. I think one of them most likely will be Rize. I don't know who the other one might be. I have no idea, honestly, thinking about it. I mean, look, okay. Regardless, let's see. Renji got hurt, okay, against Arima. He's probably still hurt or whatever. I don't know. There's a possibility he could still be here. I don't know. It could be Toka, too, but I doubt it's Toka or, you know, Ayato or even Renji at all. I highly doubt it's one of them. So who could those two be? That's left up to speculation. I'm willing to bet you one of them are probably Rize. Willing to bet you. So that's the final part of this chapter. Epic as fuck. I cannot wait for next week's chapter. There's one thing I do want to mention, though, before I end this video. There was a signature I was looking at. When I was looking up the signature to, you know, James Whistler, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about earlier on this video. His signature looks like a scorpion butterfly, yes, but also, I looked closer at it, and it looks like a flower. Like, I'll probably have it on the screen here, you can see it for yourself, but the scorpion butterfly literally looks like some form of flower, so maybe Ishida caught interest in it because of flower symbolism as well, not just for the butterfly scorpion stuff, but also because it looks kind of like a flower. Maybe that's what drew Ishida into it, but regardless though, I want to end my video here. You have a wonderful day or not wherever you live, please be safe, Chibi out.